Okay, so we're recording next Wednesday. We got to do that. Okay. Okay, we're live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 216. We're going to call this FTC Fines because the FTC likes to find, well, I don't want to say they like to find people, but they find a couple people, and we're going to talk about it. But that's later. We have some other stories first. But I'm Hyam. Tom is over there in his VR headset.
I'm here.
So
I don't actually exist in this reality. I'm only a construct of the Matrix.
Absolutely. Do you remember when Keanu Reeves was hated by everybody?
I do. I'm glad that time has passed.
But now he's like everyone wants to be Keanu Reeves. Like, I don't know what's going on.
So, apparently all the stuff he was doing, behind the scenes in the shadows, has come to light. And unlike many Hollywood stars, the stuff that he was trying to hide was stuff that he just didn't really want to be recognized for. He wasn't trying to show off. He donates a bunch of money to children's hospitals, and he takes care of dogs, and he's generally a likable, good human being. And he was doing all that in secret because he just wants to be a good person. He doesn't want to get the notoriety from it. But guess what? This is the internet. And if you're a good person who likes dogs and donates to children's cancer hospitals, we're going to recognize you.
Or we're going to hate you because you only donate to certain children's hospitals.
Well, there's that too. Or
you only save certain types of dogs, like Rottweilers and Pit Bulls were not on your list, and now you're all dog lives matter and everything else. So
I'm going to claim now. I know we didn't talk about this before the show, but the In30 Network is a all dog lives matter network of podcasts. We believe that all dogs are good boys or good girls, and that they all deserve pets and treats whenever they deserve them.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't have a dog. I would love a dog. My problem is that I can't walk the dogs in the morning or at night. And so I don't mind dog sitting. I don't mind you bringing your dog, but I can't deal with the morning walk. So that's my problem.
I love dogs, but I just don't have the time to take care of one. And I think if I got a dog and subjected it to my weird lifestyle, it would not work. It would not be fair to the dog, and they need time and dedication that I'm just not prepared to give. I have realistic expectations of myself.
Before we get started with our show, did you hear what's going on in Puerto Rico?
I did not.
Okay, so the governor of Puerto Rico, and I'm going to butcher this, and everyone's going to hate me, but I'm sorry, I'm going to get the gist of it right. Had his Telegram, that's the key word there, Telegram messages leaked. I don't know if it was encryption busting. I bet you it wasn't, because usually that's not how any of this works.
Probably just screenshots, like you said. And he said a lot of nasty things about women and body shaming and political adversaries and everything else. And the streets of Puerto Rico are erupting, and there's I think imminently, as we record this on Wednesday, the 24th at almost 10 p.m., he is allegedly set to resign. So the key here is don't ever use Telegram. Ever. There's an additional layer of security. If you would like something to be kept secret, don't put it on the internet. That includes your messaging applications. That includes your phone. That includes writing random comments on anonymous message boards. Just if you want to keep it a secret, keep it away from computers, because secrets leak.
I mean, I don't know how the secrets leaked. I don't want to necessarily blame Telegram, but yes, I do. I always want to blame Telegram. I don't think anyone should use it.
We always want to.
Yeah, if there's a way I can blame Telegram, I want to do it. So
it's true.
So that's the other big news political story there. Anyway, so first thing, let's start with something simple. We talked about this. Kazakhstan, in order to keep law and order, is now implementing man in the middle on all traffic, including HTTPS traffic, which I don't necessarily know how they do, but I guess what they do is they certify all devices in Kazakhstan to have a third-party certificate.
So a lot of, not all ISPs, from last I've read, but many ISPs were prompting people to install a government-minted full-on SSL root certificate. So the government could then claim that, oh no, Facebook.com, it's totally signed by us, we promise, as they're doing, SSL ends it at the ISP's termination point, picks back up encrypted with, the government certificate, and then goes out the wire. Now, root certs are dangerous. We've talked about this before. And the government forcing people to install a random root cert to enable man-in-the-middle traffic is... There are stronger words I could use, but this is a PG family-friendly show. It is evil and it is wrong. Forcing people to install root certs so you can man in the middle of your traffic or their traffic is utterly abhorrent and absolutely the exact wrong thing to do if you want to live in a free society.
My question is, are they doing it the same way that China's doing it?
So China's doing a lot of weird things, but China does own a lot of companies that can mint certificates. So it's not necessarily China is doing it in a way that's not as blunt as this. Let me put it that way. And people know that everything they're doing in China, and especially on Chinese-run or Chinese companies' websites, is going to be tracked, monitored, logged, all this stuff. 6 ways to Sunday. The way Kazakhstan is doing it is really, it's a blunt instrument. It's super easy to see. It's easy to detect. Having your ISP say, no, you can't get to HTTPS sites unless we come in the middle of the traffic, like that's really on the nose. At the very least, the only credit that we can give the Kazakhstan government is that, hey, at least you're not trying to hide that you're completely evil. You're just out in the open with it.
I mean, I guess they claim that they're doing it for safety. I'm sure they have their talking points.
I'm sure they do too.
So we talked about this years ago. I don't want to say years ago, and this came up again. And I said, didn't we talk about this? And I think the answer is we spoke that they were going to do that. Now they're actually going to do that.
Yeah. So there's currently a bug report on Mozilla, the creators and maintainers of Firefox, on Mozilla's bug tracker, where people are going back and forth and discussing, okay, what can browser vendors do to try to warn people? And they've discussed everything from maybe throwing something in the URL bar, maybe disallowing additional root certs entirely. There's no real great situation because honestly, there are reasons to be able to load custom root certs in a browser. Let's say you work at a large company that produces a bunch of internal only applications and you don't want to use something like Let's Encrypt. You don't want to use one of the public certificate providers because there's certificate transparency. So when you issue a cert, it goes into a public ledger and you don't necessarily want your stuff leaked. You don't want to have to manage that. You don't want to have to rely on third-party infrastructure. There's a lot of reasons why you would want your own certificate authority inside your company. One of those reasons that's very poor is I know a lot of companies do man-in-the-middle HTTPS traffic. It's wrong for all the same reasons we listed before, but there are valid reasons to, own, mint, and install another root certificate. If you want to rely on your own signing infrastructure for your internal applications, it's completely valid. It's a perfectly valid reason, and the reason why we have this functionality in the first place. So browser vendors are trying to figure out a good way to alert people to say, hey, this isn't in the trusted cert bundle set. You might be man-in-the-middled. We can't guarantee it, but you might be man-in-the-middled. There is more talk around possibly banning or even making a blacklist of known man-in-the-middle root certificates. But again, it's a big give and take, and throwing even more icons in the URL bar that people aren't going to pay attention to. Everyone agrees that's probably not the way to go.
I mean, again, Mozilla has 3 now. I don't know what this I with a little circle is. Oh, that's security information. The shield. Apparently it's tracking and blocking of tracking. And then the green lock. And then I don't know what there's authentication bar is. Oh, so Facebook doesn't. I'm on Facebook. Facebook doesn't have this. The EV cert. PayPal does. I'm just going to PayPal. So, and that
and
does.
There's like another reader mode thing. There's 3 dots for page actions. There's a favorites thing, like another icon up there, no one's going to pay attention. No one's going to care. And if they pop up like a big click-through dialog box for every time you use a root cert, people who use their company's internal web apps are going to riot. So it's not really great for those people. But we do need a solution here, and I'm glad that a conversation is being had.
So yes, I am happy about that as well. And look, I hope that the government, I don't want to say gets rid of, I mean, they can do whatever they want, but they get rid of it. I hope that they do, and they find better ways to not keep tabs on people, but if they want to censor something, let's do it in a legislative way, or how about non-oppressive?
Yeah, from what we've seen, complete information awareness and surveillance doesn't do anything to stop terrorism. It doesn't do anything to stop criminals. As a matter of fact, the only thing it does is make more false accusations and false positives. It actually dilutes the effectiveness of police and law enforcement, because now they're off chasing false leads on somebody that was just making a joke over an encrypted, what they thought was an encrypted messaging app, instead of focusing on actual evidence and catching bad guys.
So that's the problem. Anytime they say we're trying to catch the bad guys, means that good guys are going to get rounded up, and we're going to have problems. But let's move on to another story where we're trying to help the good guys catch the bad guys. EFF is suing AT&T for selling customers' location to bounty hunters, which is not the same as AT&T selling our location to the NSA. And it's also not the same as AT&T selling our location to law enforcement. This is specifically bounty hunters.
So let's just, we all hate the great evil empire of AT&T, right? I was forced to use AT&T when it was literally the only service that worked in my area. I still regret my actions to this day.
Was it singular? Hold on. Was it singular?
No, it was straight up AT&T.
Okay.
My wallet remains hurt to this day. I would have had an extra however much per month I was forking over to them. But just to level the playing field here, Motherboard, the website, investigated and found that AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon were all selling customers' location data to location aggregators, some of which ended up in the hands of bounty hunters. Now, the EFF has targeted specifically AT&T with this lawsuit, and we'll get into the whys here in just a minute. Actually, we'll get into the whys right now. The reason they're not targeting all four carriers and why they're just targeting AT&T with this lawsuit is because they've got a plethora of evidence against AT&T. One of the investigations directly targeted somebody's AT&T phone, so they have a willing participant. And when you're bringing a class action lawsuit, you generally want to have more lawyers and more people on your side than the opposing side, and definitely more dollars on your side than the opposing side. If you tried to sue all four major cell phone companies in the United States, you're now combining all of their lawyers against you. So what they're hoping to have happen is that when they sue AT&T, if they win, there's going to be case law on the books that says, yes, cell phone providers, if you sell this data, it is illegal. You cannot do this. It is against the law. And there will be case law on the books. Thereby, the other three major telcos will have to just stop doing it, or else they'll get sued too. And in a lawsuit that's brought forward after the judgment rules in the EFF's favor, which we hope it does, a judge is going to look at that and say, yeah, this is literally the AT&T case. We have case law on the books. You have lost. Stop doing this, or we'll fine you. Or you've lost, pay these damages. So it's really a good play for the EFF to only pick one of these providers. So that's kind of the why.
Well, again, they chose AT&T. Why not choose Sprint?
Yeah, I don't know why they're going after the biggest and the baddest of them. To my feeble non-lawyer mind, I'm thinking, why not pick on a T-Mobile or a Sprint or somebody with less free cash than Ma Bell. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm taking my best guess here. None of this is legal advice. If you're bringing up a class action lawsuit against someone, don't hire me and don't listen to this podcast. Go find somebody and pay them gobs of money. But it's interesting. What we can hope for is that the EFF does win this case, because your location, regardless of what apps you have installed on your phone, if you have a cell phone and a cell phone provider, that information is being sold to location aggregators. It might not be personally identifiable, not easily personally identifiable anyway, but know that, you're being tracked everywhere you go. That's really all I've got.
Well, I mean, I guess deep down we all knew this was happening. That the location data was getting sold off, was being siphoned off, all of that stolen, whatever it is. And so I see this, and it's just okay, we didn't know this, and like you said, it makes sense what you're saying, that they're trying to hit one company rather than all four. Let's hit the biggest name so they have. I guess you know what, they do have deep pockets, but if they can win against AT&T, they could, like you said, use that against case law for others. Going after Metro PCS or Boost or whatever it is not really going to help.
As an aside, one thing that you'll constantly see in terms of service and contracts is this forced arbitration clause. And it doesn't really mean anything to you because you're thinking, I'm never going to sue AT&T. I don't have that kind of time or money. Well, here in the EFF's court case, AT&T and T-Mobile have made a case in a court filing. They said, hey, in response to the EFF's lawsuits, AT&T customers have no right to sue over the sale of location data because of our forced arbitration contract. Instead, that means that you can't be involved in a class action lawsuit. Even though the EFF is fighting for you, they're fighting for your rights, because you signed that piece of paper with forced arbitration, you can't be part of this class action lawsuit. Now, if that's not a shady way to evade the issue, I don't know what is.
So if you take this Vice article, this Motherboard article, and you scroll down past the first article, the next thing is data broker Location Smart will fight the class action lawsuit. So they're now going to argue on AT&T's behalf, saying, hey, we need this. So it's already starting. It's already starting. People are lining up. The lobbyists are lining up to see who has, like you said, the most lawyers on each side.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as far as consumer protection and what you personally can do with your cell phone and your plan, I honestly don't see any technical solution to this other than don't have a cell phone, which is not really a solution, right? We're all using smartphones. They're extremely useful. I carry one on my person every day. I've got it on or near me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There's no way I'm going to stop carrying my phone. But in doing that, I am now forking over my location data, whether I want to or not, without any technical recourse available to really whoever wants to buy this stuff from my current carrier, which is T-Mobile. It's painful. It really is. I wish I had better news for you, but the best way you can fight against this and the best way you can really ensure yourself for the future on these types of issues is to donate to the EFF.
Yep. And that's what I do every year. I give them my $65. I get another t-shirt and we go from there. So let's go to our main story. So the FTC slaps Facebook with a $5 billion penalty and some other stuff that we're going to get into. It also hits Equifax with a $700 million fine, which I initially wanted to get on my soapbox and say, and I think Tom agrees, that $700 million should have been a lot more. Whereas I don't know if Facebook should have been less, but Equifax should have been more than Facebook.
I can agree with that. And really for the fact that, I deleted my Facebook account forever ago. I got rid of it. Except for WhatsApp, I'm not really handing my data over to Facebook in any capacity. So I can completely avoid the weird privacy for the most part. They've got trackers all over the web. But for the most part, I can avoid all their weird privacy busting shenanigans. With Equifax, I had no such option. I can't just go to Equifax and say, hey, I would like to delete my account, please. Doesn't really work like that. And when Equifax leaks all my data, if Facebook leaks all my data, or when Facebook leaks all my data, I have the option. People have the option of deleting their account, of just saying, yep, I wash my hands of this, I'm done. When Equifax does that same thing, people don't really have that option. So $700 million for Equifax seems like a really, really, really cheap cost of doing business. And it is painful.
And we said that Facebook was more, Equifax was more malicious. They knew about it. They hid it. They did all this other stuff. I don't think Facebook, willful negligence. I don't know. Facebook sort of kind of knew, but in sort of for customer satisfaction and helping everyone out, I don't want to say they brushed it. We're going to get into this, brushed it under the rug, but it wasn't like this. They sold some data that was gathered illegally, and when they figured it out, they said, we're sorry. I think Equifax got hacked, didn't know about it. When they found out, they just kept it quiet and they moved on. But they have, like you said, they have people's actual information that they didn't sign up for versus Facebook, which you give it photos. So,
yeah. So let's get into the details of this, because I think the details are really where it gets important. I've read a lot of comments, and even people in our WhatsApp group were understandably upset. They said, well, only $5 billion? Really? That's it? Now, let's put that number into perspective. $5 billion is 9% of Facebook's revenue for 2018, right? It's a pretty big number. And that's revenue, right? That's not cash profit. If you look at profit, it's going to be about 20% of Facebook's profit for the 2018 year. I think that's pretty good, especially for a first major infraction. Now, what this, and it's nowhere near the first infraction for Facebook, but we'll classify this as major. What this does, though, is this resets the bar for privacy infractions, right? It says, okay, it's no longer a $700 million game, right? We're talking about $1 billion game now. If you mess up, we will bleed you of 20% of your profits at least, right? Get used to it. This is a new world. And I think that is really admirable. It has to start somewhere, and by starting here, where we can only go up, I think that's great, right? I don't see Americans passing a GDPR-style regulation anytime soon. We need one, but I don't see it happening. But having the FTC throw a major fine at Facebook like this is honestly a good sign. Now, I did see a lot of people wanting, saying that they should have been fined more, but more often I saw people claiming that why didn't they get rid of Zuckerberg? Why didn't they fire Mark? Why didn't they depose him? And honestly, it's because they couldn't, not without a long, protracted court battle. What the FTC did was exactly what is in their charter. They targeted just the things they were allowed to do legally that was already on the books, really, really safe bets, because if they didn't, what would happen is Facebook would take the FTC to court. They would continue their crazy Facebook shenanigans for the next 5 years while this long, drawn-out court battle played out, and then eventually they would settle out of court for an undisclosed sum. The FTC didn't want that to happen. They wanted this to be very public, and they wanted to make sure that it never went to court. So they only did things that they were allowed to do by the letter of the law. And I think that was an extremely smart play. It's not the outcome we wanted, but it's the best that we could get. And I think that's okay. I really do.
I don't necessarily want Mark Zuckerberg resigning. I just want the stuff to stop. Like I think that, okay, you take out the CEO, okay, the CFO, the CTO, all the other people. That's the mindset of the company. It's not like one person. Yeah, so exactly. Taking him out, I don't think is going to do anything. I think hurting their bottom line to the point where it really, like, if we're going to get caught, this is really going to hurt us. or we really don't want regulators in, and they kind of sort of got regulators in, but we don't want to be micromanaged. So what do we need to do? And like you said, if they put a court battle, this would go on for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it would be expensive for the government. It'd be expensive for Facebook, and really, it's going to be expensive for all Facebook's users who now have to put up with Facebook, doing what they do without any kind of oversight or really anyone holding them back. Because guess what? The FTC is already embroiled in a giant legal battle. What more are they going to do? So I'm going to really, 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 I want to emphasize really poorly summarize this judgment and what this means for Facebook. There will be two independent, completely, not run by anyone even remotely connected with Facebook, two completely independent oversight committees, one oversight committee, one privacy committee, and they are going to independently audit Facebook constantly. So there are specific things that Facebook must do and Facebook cannot do. Let's get into the cannots because I think these are more important. Facebook is no longer allowed to use your phone number that you signed up for a security measure for advertising purposes. Your phone number that you put in for two-factor authentication has to be used for anything security related, two-factor related. They cannot use it for advertising any longer. That's fantastic. That's a great win. Honestly, there should be a law against it, but the FTC did point out, hey, Congress needs to start passing better privacy laws because we've done what we can with the false advertising claims. Facebook is no longer allowed to ask for logins to other websites. For some users, they were testing out this ability where they would ask you for a login to your email provider so they could just snarf up your entire address book. That's no longer allowed. Facebook is not allowed to use facial recognition without clear and conspicuous notice to the individual user who is being targeted by said facial recognition. This is cool. So where before they implied through their privacy policy that, this thing is turned off by default, you have to opt into it. Turns out that's not how it worked at all. It was just turned on for everyone and you had to go in and disable it. It was default opt-in. Really bad. The FTC didn't like that. And they are closing the Friends of Friends loophole to leak your personal data to third-party app developers / advertisers. Additionally, on the third-party app developer front, Facebook has to make sure that the app developers are complying with the Facebook terms of service perfectly. If they're not, Facebook has to cut them off immediately. There's going to be none of this Cambridge Analytical stuff where you fly under the radar. If that happens again, we'll get into the penalties because there are some and they're pretty serious. Additionally, let's get into the musts. Facebook must audit third-party app developers and must ensure that all user passwords are encrypted and never logged in the clear. Now, it's important. It's good that it's in here, but I don't see this as a willful infraction, more like just a dumb mistake. But again, kind of glad it's here. So, yeah, what happens if they mess this up? What happens is that Facebook and Zuckerberg become personally liable. They become personally open to civil and criminal lawsuits and penalties, meaning that if Facebook messes this up, there's no more protection. Good luck. It's free reign. It's time for Facebook hunting because you can now sue them 6 ways to Sunday for anything and everything you can imagine.
I just want to clarify. Huge. This has to be willful. So yes, it's and you have to prove. So that's where the deep pockets come in this case. So if they willfully lie about it, Zuckerberg and the heads will be liable. So they're going to have to find, I'm sure Facebook is thinking of plausible deniability if they didn't learn from their mistake this time and they want to continue doing this, they're going to have to prove that it wasn't negligence, and the FTC is going to have to prove that it was negligent after we figured that out, which would take a while. So
yeah, so it's not perfect by any means, but it is the closest thing we've come to like a government-ish, GDPR-ish sort of thing happening to an American tech company from an American government agency. And that's honestly, I look at that as a good thing. Facebook should be held more accountable. They have a whole an incredible amount of personal information on so many people that, yeah, they probably require a little bit more oversight than Bob's blog, where you can log into his guest book.
Yeah, and so this goes back to a few months ago where Zuckerberg put out our new privacy initiative. I bet you they knew this. Obviously, this was coming down, so they were trying to spin it. Hey, look, we're already doing this. Facebook hired, and we talked about this before the show, 3 really heavy hitters in security. And what I liked is Nate Cardozo. He was the head of the EFF, or the legal lawyer, the head of legal for the EFF. They hired him from the EFF, and he recently went on record basically saying, if I don't use WhatsApp, you'll know why. So it looks like they're trying to, at least the core security parts of it, they're trying to do. The creepiness factor, they won't be able to change, the selling of data and everything else, but at least the manipulating the feeds and everything else, they're going to try and stop that. So that's a good thing. Like you said, this is as far as they can go without going into really protracted long court battles. So it's more than just the $5 billion fine. It's more of the hey, look, don't screw up. Otherwise, you're really setting yourself up for us to come in and do bad things to you.
So one thing that we should mention is that this settlement does indemnify Facebook from the alleged violations of the FTC's 2012 order that they gave to them. So yeah, they paid the $5 billion, but they kind of got a get out of jail free card for the stuff that they did before. So I'm sure that they put that in there to get Facebook to go along with this, to not fight this or take it to court. There's, with these sort of government settlements and fines, it's not really a cops versus robbers situation. It's definitely more of a collaboration to figure out, okay, how are we going to go forward with this, and what can we impose on you that you're not really going to challenge? It happens a lot, honestly, with these big companies, and sometimes with really, really high profile white collar crimes. Sometimes this sort of negotiation has to happen. Is it great? No, not really, but can we get any better? At the current time, this is as good as it gets. So overall, I'm happy with this, but we'll really have to see where it goes.
So look, we can talk about this a lot more, but we're already over time. So
if you'd like to talk about it more, join our WhatsApp group.
Absolutely. Find us. And we know that's on Facebook or Facebook owned property. But again, we always talk about moving, and we always come back to WhatsApp as being the easiest for literally everybody, with some semblance of encrypted content inside. Not that we do anything bad in there, but we like to at least walk the walk. So, okay, we're done. We will see everyone next week on let's see, what's 7 days from now, on July 31st, to get our last Hangouts on air before we're going to have to figure out what to do. So
yep, we will be here.
We will be here. Even if we just sit here for half an hour, we will get a show in. And it's probably going to be DEF CON stuff, because DEF CON is the week after. Anyway, everyone have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See everyone.